Hello, 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 everyone. This is Khay Shepard. I am part of the Trinity um, of a health conference that we're about to put on, which is going to be live on Zoom Live. Will be October 29th at 9 p.m. and it's called the Women's Love Rights. And we're going to be discussing women's health from physical health, mental, emotional, and sexual health. And I'm so happy to be here tonight because tonight is about me. So I'm going to introduce Dr. Singh, who will be doing or conducting her interview with me because I've had the pleasure of interviewing her and it was an outstanding interview. I also had the pleasure of interviewing Noni Repass, who is Miss Knows Things, and she's a sex coach. She's a sexuality coach, a certified sexuality coach. So just to give you a little background about me, my name is Khay Shepard. I am a certified self-love coach, meaning I'm a life coach. I'm a certified life coach. I am also a domestic violence awareness specialist. I am a domestic, not just said that, but I'm also a mental health practitioner. So I'm certified in depression, anxiety, suicidal ideation, suicide with a plan. I'm also certified as I'm a holistic practitioner. My degree is in alternative medicine. So that's where me and Dr. Singh and we connect in terms of naturopath medicine. Also, I'm an author. So I'll just give you a quick glance of my book. It's called Authentically Rich by Khay Shepard. And later on, I'll give you my website where you can purchase it. So I'm going to happily turn this over to Dr. Singh so she can.
Thank you so much. Hey,
it's a pleasure as always, Dr. Singh.
You do the best interview. This is your turn.
Woo.
And my interview with you, are there any questions that you'd like for me to not touch? Or, okay, you already introduce yourself, your name, and what you do. Could you tell us specifically in the domestic violence area that you deal with, what are the things and how did you get involved with that? How did it lead you to this, to the domestic violence specialist?
Well, it's interesting. I worked in the field of domestic violence. I worked with an agency in New York called Safe Horizons, and I worked with them for 6 years. I got my start. I always knew I wanted to help people. I just didn't know in what capacity. So when I started working with them, I learned how to provide counseling and advocacy and help to find interventions for survivors of domestic violence. I worked on the hotline. I started out as a hotline counselor, and then I was promoted to domestic violence coordinator, and I worked in a precinct. But the thing that has always brought me back to domestic violence is that I have a duality. And the duality in it is that I have the professional side and then I have the personal side. So 4 years into me working as a domestic violence coordinator, I started to experience my own domestic violence with my son's father, in which time I had to have an order of protection. I had to have an order of exclusion to have him removed from the home. There was just a lot of things that went on. So I found myself, in the duality, in the middle of both.
I understand. All right, where do you come from? Where were you born?
I am a native of Brooklyn, New York.
Okay.
I come from a very long line of people who lived in America. I just recently found out my great-grandfather, who was born in 1823, was born in South Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm excited about that.
Wasn't that rewarding to get to those levels to find that out?
Absolutely, because so much of our history there is no history. We weren't considered human beings. So to be able to find documentation of a man who was born in 1823, who is my third great-grandfather, was astounding. It was phenomenal.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So
I also share passion for history as well. And as you know, most people, you have to be almost like an investigator to
Mm-hmm.
find out who and what and where your lineage come from.
Absolutely.
Especially the Black population, because we got to find out. And so therefore we
Right.
go through different things to find out this information so we can get a clearer idea as to where our lineage come from and who our ancestors are.
Absolutely.
When you mention about domestic violence, all right, let's say if there's somebody out there, they're looking for someone to help them in the area that you specialize in. What do you think that would cause a person to choose you over other people that deal in this profession?
Well, it's a great question, and I kind of answered it, but I'm going to answer it again because I want
Okay.
people to understand that I do have the duality. And in addition to that, I know what I went through my own domestic violence situation. My best friend in high school was murdered by her husband in 2007. So this is very near and dear to my heart. Outside of my own experiences, I've witnessed numerous family members go through, similar types of abuse. And if I can be here to give education as well as empathy on a level, because on a personal level, because I get it, I've been there. So I can relate to what people go through and have gone through due to those types of circumstances. But I also, because I understand it from seeing it growing up, I also understand that there are patterns that you have to break in order to not keep attracting the same type of person. Because you'll attract the same person. It'll be a different face, a different name, but he'll have all the same qualities of that last person if you don't know what to do to change that cycle within yourself.
Can you tell me what was it that caused you to write and become an author? What was it that made you do that? And then the book is so outstanding because it says authentically rich. You're in my mind, if I were to pick that up, I would think that it's going to move me in certain ways in terms of money. But I got different things from that book. I
Right.
got a sense of enrichment, a sense of different experiences to help me navigate.
Thank you.
So could you tell me what caused you to write the book?
I wrote that book because I know so many people are hurting and they don't know how to break those cycles. And I've had I've put myself through a lot, to be able to write that book. And I can sit back now and say, you know what? I'm now reaping the fruit of all of that labor because I went through a whole lot. Like this book is not even the tip of the iceberg in regards to what I've been through. But I wanted people to have the opportunity to look at these things from a different perspective because I'm always about perception shifting. I want you to shift your perception and see that there's another way. A lot of times we're stuck in a box and we don't know how to get out of that box. And sometimes it just takes someone to say one thing and it'll change everything. And when you're able to take the lid off of that box and climb out of that box, you'll see a whole different world. You'll have a whole new idea of what you can do.
Okay. So from what I'm gathering, well, remember, I've read the book, so it inspired me. Is it basically, I would think that if I were to recommend it to someone, I would say it's a book that it's a self-help book to help you with your particular situation, to guide you through whatever it is that you're going through. Would you mind showing us the book cover?
Absolutely. So the name of the book is Authentically Rich. So let me explain why I chose that as a name. And there's the back of it. The reason why I chose the name Authentically Rich is because we are truly authentically rich. It's just a matter of us doing the work to bring the jewels out of us that we have inside of us. A lot of times we're operating through other people's operating systems, and we're not operating from our own. We're not operating from a genuine place, an authentic place. So that was the purpose. It was to let people know that you're authentically rich. And one of the things I did in this book is that I made it a workbook as well. So if you see, like each chapter, you can write your own story. You can write your own story and then maybe even turn that into your own book. And that was the purpose. It was to inspire you to answer the questions in the book, take a long, hard look at yourself, maybe change some perceptions that you have, and then you will see your life change in different places, in different directions.
It sounds like a great tool for anybody to have. Now, let's say somebody in the audience is interested in obtaining it. And as you know, and I've told you in the past, plenty of times people want to get something, but they need to get clear information. How can they obtain this book?
Well, you can actually get the book, and you know what? We did speak on this. So the book is under my website. Now, you can also purchase it on Amazon under Khay Shepard, and it's Authentically Rich. Or you could purchase it from my website, which is K as in K as in kite, H as in Harry, A as in apple, Y as in yes, S as in Sam, E as in Edward, P as in Paul, hyphen, S as in Sam, F as in Frank, F as in Frank.com. I will have it and I will show it to you when I put up my backdrop.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Kay, because like I said, people sometimes they desire getting something, but it's kind of like it goes over one's head because
Right.
people talk about it, but they never get the full thing. So I appreciate you taking out the time and telling the audience. Now, I am kind of curious.
Uh-oh.
You had 3 things to say for a woman to avoid in terms of being able to spot someone that is a potential domestic violent person.
Mm-hmm.
What would those 3 things be?
Well, you have to look out for coercion. Coercion is when someone is basically forcing you to do something against your will, and they'll manipulate you to do it by withholding something or taking something from you. Let's say, for instance, the silent treatment. You didn't do what I told you to do. I told you to go to the store and come right back. I told you you had 10 minutes. Now that you didn't come back, now I'm not going to speak to you. And mental and emotional abuse has to do with coercion and being shut down, and that person will limit how they deal with you. They'll withhold sex. They will not talk to you for days. You know, these are things that people think are really small, minute things, but they're not. And over a period of time, they break down your self-esteem. You know, they break down your self-worth. So it's a form of punishment, and they will coerce you to do. It can even be physical violence after. Like if I told you to do something, you didn't do it, and I assault you. So coercion, or if you don't do what I'm telling you to do, you know, you're going to reap the benefits or the consequences of that.
Yeah. So, okay.
So that's coercion. The next one is isolation. Isolation is really big. COVID is the time where we really have to be concerned about people that are being abused, because this is the time that they have access. You know, if you're working from home and that person is always home, then, oh my God, there's no escape. Yeah. So that's the scary thing about this time in domestic violence, is that a lot of people are stuck and they can't go anywhere. They're stuck with this person maybe 24 hours a day, which means that this person has more power and more control over them and what happens in that person's life. And then the last, well, not the last one, but another one we had discussed earlier was, well, we discussed quite a few, but blaming is a big one. You know, there was a situation that I had when I was about 19. There was a guy I dated, and we were, you know, not like kind of roughhousing, playing around, not to be hurtful, but to play around. And he kicked me in my arm with his boot, and I had a boot tread mark bruise on my arm. And he told me, he had the nerve, the audacity to say, well, had you stopped playing when I wanted you to, you would have never got kicked. But you never said you wanted to stop playing. So how was I supposed to know that? So he blamed me for something that I wasn't even aware of. And then he was physically abusive to add to that.
That is a scary, serious situation to be in. Do you know of any incident that happened where it wasn't a good outcome
For whom?
for the woman, that maybe it went too far?
Well, I mean, I can only speak for myself, and it's in the book because this same person who kicked me, after that whole incident, I stopped dealing with him and didn't see him for about 6 months. And then 6 months later, he came to my house and he raped me. So there's a situation. This dealing with him in that situation has taught me a lot. It taught me a lot that when he was that abusive, then I should have left him alone and not trusted him back into my space. But I know that now, and I'm much, much older. But when you're dealing with like low self-esteem and low self-worth, and you find yourself susceptible to things like this because you don't have proper boundaries.
I have heard of situations where women lose their lives due
Absolutely.
to un, this unbelievable type of cycle of violence. My understanding is that you're still very much in touch and involved with women who need help.
Right.
Could you tell me? I remember you were saying earlier that you're trying to do things to help them, and could you expand on that?
Well, I have a program. Actually, I have several programs. I have a program that's Domestic Violence 101, where I teach women about how to love themselves more, and I teach them how to find self-worth, and I give them analogies and I give them assignments. And my book is also incorporated in that. So we can work through those issues that they may be having and things they've been struggling with, because a lot of it has to do with patterns. These are patterns that you were taught, these are things that you learn. It's not something that you automatically have in your head. It's a pattern that you saw over the course of your life. And if you didn't have the proper guidance, and even if you didn't have a dad in your life, this will play a big part in it.
Yes. I'm speaking about specifically with our women's conference. You were suggesting earlier to the audience of how they could participate in helping these women.
Well, I definitely. So anybody out there who is interested, and it's male, female alike. And if you can't attend, you can actually donate money towards tickets, because we want to actually make it available to women who want to come in and see this conference and they maybe can't afford it. So even if you can't do it for yourself, you can do it for your aunt, your mom, your sister, your daughter, your cousin, and anyone who's experiencing domestic violence. This conference is going to be extremely helpful. In addition to that, they're going to learn more about who they are mentally and emotionally, and definitely physically. Dr. Singh is going to be there to tell you about those physical things you can do to help yourself. So yeah, this is going to be a phenomenal conference. Phenomenal.
So, Kay, you feel that this field is definitely for you. Have you ever questioned yourself about it?
No, never. I mean, what happened was I had to learn to change where I was in the field. Like I had to be on the healing end of the field. I could not be on the front line of, excuse me, being in the police department. When I worked for the police department, or in the police department rather, I dealt with everything from verbal to homicide. And that was hard. And it was very difficult seeing women come in and having to take pictures and voucher pictures because they've been physically abused. And, it's a lot. It plays a lot on your psyche. It plays a lot on you as a human being. So it's great to be on this end of it because I still get to help women, but I get to help them in the healing aspect of it. It's not like, okay, I took some pictures of you and I vouchered it, and you know what? Come back if he comes back. No, it just leaves too many things hanging. I'm glad to be in the end of healing and helping women that are being abused be better versions of themselves so that they can actually have the type of life that they want.
If a woman has experienced some level of domestic violence and she leaves the home, do you think she'd still need help? She,
Absolutely. Absolutely, because it doesn't stop there. If you still have the same patterns, it's not going to stop. You know, if you're going to meet a different guy but the same face.
Okay.
So we're going to wrap it up. I'm going to let Dr. Singh close us out since she did such a phenomenal job. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity to try interviewing. What do you
I
think, Kay?
appreciate
You think I make a good interviewer?
you are. You're a fantastic interviewer.
Thank you.
Fantastic. But let's wrap it up because, whoo, we know we got stuff to do.
And I see you got your book in the background.
Yes, my book is in the background.
Okay.
Yes, so people can see what it is. Once again, you can reach me. You can reach Dr. Singh on Facebook. I'll let her give you her information. You can reach me at Khay Shepard. You'll see it's going to be a yellow circular logo, and it's called Stop Following Failure. And that's the name of my program. So you'll be able to see this interview there, and also Dr. Singh.
Thank you very much, Kate.
Thank you.
We'll do that, the rest of that information on our the conference for the 29th. That's the 29th of October, right?
Absolutely.
Domestic
At 9
Violence
p.m.
Month?
Yes.
Domestic Violence Month, correct?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Domestic
All
violence.
right, take care, everyone. And thank you for joining us and spending some time with us, getting to know Khay Shepard.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Love and light, everyone. Can't wait to see you on the 29th.